Hello fellow Blenderers, this is Peter here with PM Designs. In this video I'm going to talk in depth about lip syncing, different approaches to getting it done, and my method of doing it. I'm self-taught, I've learned a lot of things from online, but I've found my own ways, and I'll show you an example here so you can decide if you think my way is good. Here's a couple of examples of my lip syncing animation.
Come on, baby. Baby, take my hand. We'll be able to fly. Baby, I'm your man.
Eckhart, but you're...
Dead? Sure I am.
But how is this possible?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you.
Listen, I had nothing to do with that setup. I swear to God.
Who said anything about a setup? Is there something you want to tell me?
How are you alive?
What's the matter? You sound disappointed. Answers, Leon.
That hurts.
I haven't got all night.
Look, I know why you're here, and I can give you what you want. But you have to trust me. It wasn't me, goddammit!
Okay, so if you think that's good enough to learn from, stick around and I'll talk to you in depth about this. I used to be an English language teacher, which I think puts me in a good position to talk about lip syncing animation, because I spent a lot of time teaching people who didn't speak English as a native language how to form the sounds correctly in their mouth. So let's get on with it. First thing we need to know about lip syncing is, well, phonemes basically. This is the International Phonetic Alphabet. It says international, but actually it's just for English. It covers a lot of things in different languages, but there are some sounds which are not included, such as, for example, like if you speak Russian, they have the trill, the r, so that's not here. Phonemes are basically pictographs which represent the sounds of English. So, for example, here we've got and oo. And if you say those now, you'll notice that your mouth is the same. For and oo is essentially the same. It's just this one's slightly longer. Or like this one is e and I. Mouth is exactly the same. So there are 44 of these. So we don't need to make 44 visemes. Yeah, because like I just said, some of them, the mouth shape is exactly the same. We've got these two are the same. And I are almost the same, but just you'll find that your mouth is slightly more open. And then for your mouth is a lot more open, but your tongue is in essentially the same place as So if you just think now, we'll go your mouth starts off in a smile, gets slightly bigger, and then gets much bigger for And then things like down here, we've got th, as in think or thank you. And then this one is th, like this, that, or the other. The mouth shape is exactly the same, but this is unvoiced and this is voiced. If you just think about that, if you say thank you, the TH you don't use your voice, you just use air to aspirate and say think. But then this one we'd say th, this, that, the other. Okay, so a lot of these we don't need a mouth shape for, or a viseme. So we look at visemes. This is the best image I could find, which has more than we need, but there are some things I completely disagree with. So for example, here we've got one mouth shape which represents 3 different sounds, which is a, and I. I disagree. Yes, is just one sound, but a is not one sound. It's not one mouth shape. A is over here in the diphthongs because we need an and we need an I. And if you put them together, go it becomes A, like wait, or ABCA. So to do that, if you just try and say it now, you try and say A, you can't just keep your mouth in one place, because if you just open your mouth and say that's just ah. So you need to add the E. Yeah, you need to add the E sound, which is like a smile. So you need to say a-I, yeah, or and it becomes a. So that's why I disagree with some of these visemes, but I'll tell you about that later. But anyway, we're going to use this as a basic reference, and let's get on with it. So I'm going to talk about 4 different methods today of lip syncing, starting off with the easiest, laziest, and in my opinion, the least effective one, which is an add-on called Rhubarb. Yeah, that's the last time I'm going to badmouth it. Somebody took the effort to make it, so thank you for making that. But I find it very, very flawed. So I'm going to get into my Rigify rig. I'm pretty sure Rhubarb only works with Rigify rig. It doesn't work with Auto Rig or anything like that. And I'm going to hide every layer except for my face, my 3 face layers. Pop into pose mode, and I'm going to select this. I'm going to select some of the bones which I need, some of the controls which I need, and hide all the others just to make life easier. Jaw master, mouth master, these 6 red lip masters, and these 2 here, and also I'm going to grab these 2 cheek masters. Don't really need these, but you can make it look a bit more cartoony if you use those. I also need the tongue, 4 tongue controls, the master and the 1, 2, 3. Tongue 1, 2, 3. So now if I press Shift and H, I can hide those. And now I've just got all the bones I need to make every viseme that I need. So if I come down here to my rig object data properties, come down here a little bit, keep going, you'll see the Rhubarb lip sync tab once I've installed the add-on. I'm not going to go through that because you should know how to install an add-on. We've got these, how many? 10? 8? Whatever. I'm not a math teacher, English teacher. Yeah, a certain amount of mouth shapes that we need to make. And as you can see, there's no TH here, there's no S and N, so that's why I think Rhubarb is slightly flawed. But anyway, so let's get on with making these. First, we need to make an MBP, and we're going to be using the pose library for this. I'm pretty sure Rhubarb only works with the pose library. It doesn't work with pose assets, so you need to be using Blender 3.5 or earlier. We'll talk about the pose assets later. Let's get on with this and make an MBP. So I'm just going to rotate the jaw up, and I'm going to scale these down a little bit and bring them back, just to make something. I'm doing this quite quickly, but yeah, that looks like a pretty good MBP. Later, if you want to make like a very plosive, a very powerful B, you could expand these cheeks, you know, but I'm going to do that later. So now I've done that, I'm going to grab all of these by pressing A, come to my pose library, add new, and I'm just going to call this MBP. You can call it whatever you want, but you need to be able to find it easily later. Then the next one is E, as in like we're saying, my dog got stung by a bee. So I'm going to open the mouth slightly and then just make this guy smile. I've got symmetry on, so it makes things a little bit easier. Just make him smile a little bit. And when I say smile, I just mean widen the lips like that, because if you want to actually have your guy smiling when he speaks, I recommend you don't do that now. Because if you set all of the visemes as he's a happy chappy, then later if you want to make him sad, it doesn't work. So just do like a neutral pose for all of these, and then I'm going to add a new one here, E. Next one is E. Yep. So I always like to reset it first. E is just an open mouth with your tongue at the bottom of your mouth. Select all, add new, E. And then from here I can do I, which is the next one, which is basically just a slightly more open mouth, like if you're saying ah for the doctor or the dentist, whatever. Add a new one. I'm going to call it I, because that's what Rhubarb calls it. Go down to the next one, O. I'm going to reset these, open the mouth, bring this forward and scale it right down, scale it on the X a little bit, scale it on the Y a little bit, and let's just open it a little bit more so we get something which looks like an O. I can bring these in a bit, bring them forward. That's not too bad. I made this model for a contest very quickly a couple of weekends ago, so the topology is not great. But anyway, add new one. This is O, and the next one is W and Q. I'm going to keep this one here because for W and Q, I just want to bring the mouth forward more and scale that down even more. Yeah, you can see here there's some problems with the geometry. big problems with the geometry. All right, that's not too bad. That's terrible, actually. All right, whatever, that's close enough. Just gonna scale that on the Y to make it more flat. Yeah, whatever. All, add that one to the pose library. Call that W/Q. And then we've got F and V, which is pretty easy. Open the mouth slightly, grab this one here, and just bring it up so it's touching those teeth. And I can show those teeth a little bit as well. Because I'm doing, this is like a cartoony character, the visemes need to be a little bit exaggerated. When you know, as humans, when we speak, we don't really enunciate that clearly unless we're making a YouTube video. And so if you're making realistic animation, you wouldn't worry too much about them being so clear. But because this is a cartoony character, I really want people to see that he is saying F. So something like that should do. Grab all of those, add a new pose called F and V. The last one is L, yep. Reset all of them. R, X. And for this one, I'm going to get that tongue, tip of the tongue, the teeth, the lips. Sorry, just ignore that. Stick that right up there. And I'm just going to, it doesn't matter because I'm not going to see that, but I'll put that there. I'm just going to scale that on the X so he hasn't got such a crazy wide tongue. And I can make this curl more by just bringing that forward. Something like that. So that's going to be our L sound. La 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 la. Rotate that a little bit more. Yeah, something like that. Grab all of them and add new. And I'm going to call that La. I just like to use 2 letters to represent it instead of just the 1 letter. And the last one is a rest pose, neutral pose. So I'm just going to open the mouth slightly like that and add that as rest mouth. So once you've gone through the work of doing those few visemes, to do it properly you need a lot more visemes than that. We have to assign them to the Rhubarb lip-sync categories here. So MVP is already done because that was the first one I made. So now I just need to go through and select the appropriate pose that I made for each one. WQ, F and V, L, where's my La? There we go, and rest mouth. Okay, so that's that part done. Let me just bring up my timeline here. Oh, I don't need that many, do we? Okay, so Rhubarb, as far as I know, only works with WAV files, WAV files, so you need to prepare your file in advance. And I'm just going to bring up, let me hide this for a moment. I'm also going to bring up the video sequencer. Wherever that is, here. Okay, and I'm going to add in my sound file here. Okay, so I've recorded what's called a pan phone here, which is it's like a crazy haiku which includes all of the phonemes of the English language. If I just click display WAV form here, so I'm going to cut this. Okay, so if I cut this, it's not going to work with the sound file that I upload, so I can't do that. So I'm just going to bring it right back to the beginning here. The start frame is going to be 1 on the Rhubarb lip sync, and then I need to add my sound file in here as well, which has got to be a WAV. Okay, so there is something you can do here. You can add a dialogue file, which is a text format, which apparently helps Rhubarb to do the lip syncing. I'm not going to give my opinion, I'll just let you see it here. So I'm not going to add the dialogue file, I've just added the audio file. I've added it to my video sequencer just so I can match, I can see it going on. And down here in playback on my timeline, I'm going to change the sync to audio. Okay? And then we click Rhubarb lip sync. If everything is done correctly, this will then become clickable. And click Rhubarb lip sync, and then you might see a little timer come up. You just got to wait for that to finish, and then everything will be done, and we'll have a beautiful lip syncing animation. Not. Okay, so here are all the keyframes done. Do you want to see it? Just to make this better, let's hide the overlay. Ready? Are you ready to have your mind blown by the best add-on ever?
Just watch how they splash. 5 boys on the ground. Good thing. Bet it's amusing.
So as you can see, I think it got about 1 One mouth shape was correct.
Just watch how they splash. 5 boys on the ground. Good thing.
Oh, good. Good was pretty good. Yeah, good was almost there.
Good thing.
But it's because there's no TH that we can't do good thing.
Good thing. Bet it's amusing.
And it got the M in the right place that one.
It's amusing.
Right. So let's try it again. And now let's add the text file. Okay, because now this is going to help the AI, whatever it is, to get it right. Do it again. All right, and now it should be perfect.
Just watch how they splash. 5 boys on the ground. Good thing. Bet it's amusing.
Okay, so you can form your own opinion about that. If you think that's good to go, then you go ahead and do it. You can go ahead and download the Rhubarb add-on, but I don't like it. So I'm going to delete all of that. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about some of the other, the more manual methods of lip syncing. So I'm going to go back into object mode, select my guy's face. And so shape keys. Okay, some people think that shape keys, some people will say that shape keys are the best way to do lip syncing. Let me show you why I disagree. So let's add a shape key for M. Let's call it MBP. Okay, stroll up, go into edit mode, and let's get rid of the rig for a moment. All right, we're going to turn on proportional editing. I'm going to bring this all back, scale it on the Z, scale it on the Y, scale it on the Z again. All right, something like that. Looks pretty good for an M. All right, and so now we're going to add another one. This is going to be called EE. Go into edit mode. I'm going to scale those up. Oh, that's not going to work, is it? All right, fine. I don't like doing it like this. Let's, I'm not doing this properly, by the way, because obviously you would have to move your jaw, but I can't be bothered with that. So I'm just going to do something like that. And then something like that. Okay. I'm just doing it a very lazy way. That's an E, kind of. Not really. Let's do it a little bit better. Symmetry is on, and just pull that one back up. Okay, not too bad. Right, so we've got an E. So now if I want to keyframe him, if I want to animate him saying me, yeah, I have to keyframe this one as 0, this one as 0. Go forward a little bit, and then bring this up. Keyframe that. Go forward a little bit. Take this down again. Bring this one up. Keyframe, keyframe. Go forward a little bit. Bring that down and keyframe it. So to do 2 mouth shapes, I don't know how many actions I just did, but too many. Just to do 2 mouth shapes. So now I've got him saying me, kind of. Me. Doesn't really work. What I should do, probably exaggerate. Where's the M gone? Oh yeah, because I didn't keyframe this one down. Got to keep that one on 0, and then this goes up. Yeah, all right. So now if I just bring these forward a little bit, duplicate that, MBP. So now, yeah, something more like that, and then we just do that. All right. So let's see. Yeah. So now I've just made him say me. Two Visemes. Yeah, it's 2 phonemes, M and E, me. To do that, what did I have to do? I had to, let's count the steps. Keyframe these on 0, that's 1 step. Come forward. Keyframe MBP on 1, and this on 0. So that's like, let's call that 4 steps. Come forward. Keyframe this one on 0, and this one on 1. That's 6 steps. Then come forward. Put them both back down to 0, and keyframe both of them. Or not keyframe both of them, keyframe one of them. So let's call that 7 steps. 7 steps to say even 2 letters, 2 phonemes, 2 visemes, M-E, me, 7 steps. So is why I think shape keys are just not the way to do it. You can use shape keys as a corrective method, but I really recommend you use the pose library or the asset library. So let's get on with this now, talking about the better ways to do it, my method of doing it, and yeah, why I think this works. If you've got Blender 3.5 or earlier, you can use the pose library. If you've got 3.6 or later, you need to do pose assets. The pose library is completely gone. I'm using 3.3 for this because the pose asset library is available in this, but I can still use the pose library down here as well. So, right, pose library here, or I can bring up the asset browser here, okay? And so now I've got the asset browser and I can start to create pose assets. So what you can do here is just, if you've got 3.3, or I think maybe 3.1, as early as 3.1, is convert to pose assets like that, bang. So now I've got all of them here, I, E, F, and V, blah, blah, blah. But there's a problem here is that I can't see what it is. Yeah, maybe it doesn't matter if the mouth is, if the description is good enough, it doesn't matter. I don't really need to see the face. But let's say I want to see the face, so I'm going to undo that one, get my camera, bring the camera to view. Let's turn off the depth of field. Okay, and let's just position the camera somewhere where I can see exactly what's going on. Whenever you want to create a pose asset in the asset browser, you need a camera, and that's going to create a thumbnail for you. Okay, so now if I just go back to my rig, and let's go up here, choose MBP, select that one. Now if I go into pose mode, select all of these, come down here to the timeline, yeah, I can create a pose asset. Yeah, once I've selected these in pose mode. So create a pose asset. So now I can see there's quite a nice thumbnail there. It shows me that, but it's just called Rig Robot. So I need to expand this a little bit, select this this asset, press N, and then change that to MBP. Okay, I'm just going to do one more of these just to make it clear. Okay, so this is my E, so I click, I need to get rid of this action, go to pose library, create pose asset, and again, there we go, Rig Robot, and this is called EE, enter, minimize that. Okay, so now I can activate that one just by double clicking, or you can right click and choose apply pose or whatever, okay, but that's creating actions as well. So that's how you can create a pose library, a pose asset library if you're using Blender 3.6 or later. I'm just going to do it with the pose library over here because that's already ready for me. Okay, so I know for a fact I need a couple more Visemes. I need a TH and I need SN, which SN are basically the same, and then you've got D and T, which are basically the same as well. So let's do TH first of all. Open the mouth, grab the tip of the tongue. I'm going to hide this camera for now and just bring that through. And again, because I'm doing a cartoony style, I want to make it very clear. So I'm going to bring up that lip and just bring that really forward. Something like that. Select all, add a new one, and I'll call this TH. And then reset those. And now I'm going to do S and N. So usually, it does change, but usually for S and N, your teeth are closed and your tongue is doing the action behind. So I'm just going to do that. So it looks like he's saying S or N. Yeah. N you can do with your mouth open, but I'm going to put this as S and N for now. S, N. And I also need one for T and D, which is just a slightly open mouth with the tongue making contact with the back of the teeth at the top there. Something like that. That'll do. I'm just doing this very quickly. You can spend more time on getting it perfect if you wish. T/D. Okay, so now I've got all of my pose library set up, or I've got my pose assets set up. Let's just check the Visemes. I've got a big mouth, I've got a slightly open mouth, I've got a big mouth. You know, we don't need you don't need a Viseme for H, because H is completely different. F and V we've got, oh, G and K, we don't have G and K. We don't have a G and K, so for that one, we're just gonna do that and grab this one here and whoa, bring that up a little bit. Because you say G, like G, go get, you know, that G and K and C, you know, the hard C, are formed just by making contact with the top of your roof of your mouth like that. Add a new one, G/K. Oh, we also need SH, which is also CH and J. So let me just reset that. Open the mouth slightly. And then I'm gonna, oh no, we don't want the mouth that open. We want the teeth together. Scale that on the Z, bring it forward on the Y, scale it on the X, scale it on the Y. So it looks kind of like, I don't know, like you're kissing somebody angrily. Bring that up. Something like that. It looks kind of like SH. Scale it on the Y a bit more. Yeah, something like that. Because you need your teeth to get, you know, it doesn't matter about the tongue, you can't see the tongue. So I'm going to call this one SH. Any more that we need? Go back to Visemes. E, we've got L. It says here, you know, L, N, T, D are the same, but they're not. MBP, we've got O, OR, and OI. Yeah, that's basically O. R, we need an R. R is a bit difficult to do, I think, because basically for R, you just, you know, like you're saying run, like the rhotic R, run away. Just going to move your jaw slightly forward like that. R, R, R. And then any more? Schwa, or no. Yeah, this is the ch, sh, j, and j. Yeah, that's, see, this was taken from a Chinese thing. And so they think that TH makes the same sound as S. This is why Chinese people will say thank you if they haven't studied English properly. And we've got U and U and W. Okay, right. Cool. So we've got all of these down here, whether it's in your asset browser or in your pose library. I'm just going to make this as big as I want. So just in case you don't know, when you're using the pose library, you just have to select one here and you select this magnifying glass, which is that. Okay, it applies the pose. And I'm going to set auto keying on just to save some time. And I'm going to listen to my track and find where it begins, but I can see it is here. Yeah.
Just watch how they splash.
Okay, so what I recommend, because you know each word takes like a fraction of a second to say, you can't do one word at a time and then listen and try to sync it up. I would say do a second, 1 second's worth of poses first, so that you can listen to it and then you can align it more accurately. So I know that his first thing he says, actually now I'm not using Rhubarb, I can trim this off, go back to the beginning and start this from the very beginning. So right at the beginning he says, just watch. Yeah. So I'm going to just check that.
Just watch.
So watch goes all the way up to here. Yeah, so I can even start by putting my SH in there. And then go back to the beginning, and I've got just a J, which is also similar to SH. And then I'm going to go forward a few frames, and I'm going to, he doesn't say just, he says just, because that's how we speak when we're being lazy. So I'm going to add that one here, just, and I'm going to add the S, and then go forward a little bit more, add the T, and go forward a little bit more, and we're going to add a W, and we're going to add an, it's not, you know, watch is spelt with an A, but it's actually pronounced with an O, so I'm going to add in the O, just watch, and we want, let's put in a little bit of a T here, and then it forms into ch, yeah, so let's see.
Just watch.
Okay, so you see how this is going? Just forward a couple of frames every time.
Just watch.
Okay, so it's a little bit too mouthy there, isn't it? We want just, okay, let's take away this one, and I'm going to add in my I instead. Let's see how that looks.
Just watch.
Okay, not too bad. I'm going to take away this was the T, don't really need that T. What, just, the teeth are coming together, just, yeah, and then into watch, oh, why is there a TH there? What's that one? Oh, that's the T. All right, we don't need that one either, because we can just bring it straight into a CH sound, which is basically the same as TCH. Okay, let's see how that goes.
Just watch how.
Alright, too slow on the W.
Just watch. Just watch how.
Alright, these are a little bit behind.
Just watch how.
I'm going to change this from an O into, let's change it into an I, a bigger mouth.
Just watch how.
There we go. Okay.
Just watch how.
Okay, that's pretty good. So, yeah, that's how I would do it, is you put in maybe 2 or 3 words, and you go in and you mess around with it. And, you know, even if you think, oh, naturally I would say, when I say just, you know, I say just watch, because I'm speaking quickly. My mouth doesn't move that much. But when you do it on the animation, it doesn't quite look right. So you might need to change it into a big mouth shape, just to make it look distinct and clear that he is saying it. Yeah, so that's why I changed. Originally I had this as an O sound, because I would say watch, but it didn't quite look right, so I changed it to a sort of ah sound. Just watch, because it's an American accent, so it's watch.
Just watch how.
Like that. And we're going to go straight into how. I'm not going to do this whole thing step by step, but I'm going to show you some of the key parts. How, we don't need anything for H. Yeah, H does not make a mouth shape. You can say huh in any mouth shape, but we need an A and then an O. If you're saying how, you start off with a big mouth and then it becomes an O. Okay? I'm just going to bring this a little bit smaller, like that. All right, let's see how that goes.
Just watch how they.
There we go. And then we're going to go into our TH, they. Right, so then again, you see, if we go back to this viseme thing, this would say that they is just 2 visemes. It would be this one and this one. But that's not true, because that would be the. It doesn't work. So we have to go TH into A, like a big mouth, and then into an E. It's actually 3 kind of mouth shapes.
Just watch how they.
Where's they?
How they.
So they starts here. I got it about right. Okay, let's just bring that forward a little bit.
They split.
Yeah, that looks all right.
Watch how they split.
How they
splash.
All right, then we're going into splash, how they splash. So we've got our S, go forward a couple of frames, MBP, forward a couple of frames, L, forward a couple of frames, big mouth for A, forward a couple of frames, and then SH. Where's my SH gone? Okay, let's try, see how that goes.
Just watch how they splash.
That's pretty good. Don't you think? Let me know in the comments if you think that looks good. For like maybe 5 minutes work.
Just watch how they splash.
Okay, and then from that we're going to go into a rest mouth. And what's the next sentence? Something like 5 boys? I can't remember. Right, so before he starts again, I've put my rest mouth here and I'm going to duplicate it and bring it up here as well.
5.
Okay, so it's 5 boys on the ground. So we're going to go for F, forward a couple of frames, I, forward a couple of frames, F and V again, forward a couple of frames, B, because it's boys, forward a couple of frames. Boys is going to be an O and then an E. Boys, forward a couple of frames, E, forward a couple of frames, S, forward a couple of frames, and we're going O, on the ground, forward a couple of frames, on, forward a couple of frames, the, TH, forward a couple of frames. Where's our E? This one is the, ground, G, where's R, R, and again ground, we're going to start with a big mouth shape going into a smaller O shape, ground. And I could just leave it on an N, but let's see what it looks like if I add a D at the end. Okay, so let's try that one.
5 boys on the ground.
Whoa, that was way too fast. All right, let's figure out where the end is.
5 boys on the ground.
So it goes all the way up to here to 130. So I can do, just to kind of guesstimate it, is just scale that up to 130 and see how it looks.
5 boys on the ground.
Not too bad. The 5 boys was pretty good.
5.
Yeah, let's bring that forward a little bit. I can duplicate this one just for one extra frame. 5.
5.
Yeah. Let's bring this all forward by 1 frame.
5 boys on.
Yeah.
Boys.
Okay.
Boys.
Okay, so this is our boys. Bring this forward a bit. I'm going to duplicate this S or Z sound.
Is on.
I'm going straight into O.
Is on the.
On the.
On the. On the ground.
Okay, and then this last one's a little bit quick.
Is on the ground.
Where's my G? On the. Bring that back slightly.
Ground.
Something like that.
5 boys on the ground.
Not too bad. I think this comes up too soon. So I'm going to duplicate this O sound. So it's ground. Really driving that home.
5 boys on the ground.
Not too bad.
On the ground. 5 boys on the ground.
Oh, and we need a rest pose at the end of that one.
5 boys on the ground.
Okay, I'm going to chug forward. I'm not really happy with that ground. I would spend a bit more time on that. But I'm just going to try and go forward and get through all of these sounds just so you can see kind of a final product. I'm going to jump forward to here. Good thing. Yeah, so again, I'm going to copy my duplicate my rest mouth up to here. I'm going to go straight in for a GK. Go forward a couple of frames. We want like this one for oo. Go forward a couple of frames. We want a D. Forward a couple of frames. TH. Forward a couple of frames. And then we want an I, which is basically E. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, good thing. And then thing is basically a G, like that. And then forward a couple of frames for rest mouth.
Good thing.
Okay, so that finishes about there, 174. So again, scale that up.
Good thing.
Pretty good. Is that a rest mouth? That's not a rest mouth, is it? That's my rest mouth. Whoops. What happened to my rest mouth?
Good thing.
What's going on here? Good thing. Yeah, it's okay.
Good thing.
Pretty good. It'll do for now. Last bit. Bet it's amazing. Duplicate my rest pose. Whatever. I'm going to go with bet it's amazing. So we want B. And then TD, sorry. Bet. And then we'll go with this one for I. And then we're going to go with it's. Let's just go with a TD with an S soon afterwards. Go forward a bit for amazing. We want this one because we don't really say amazing. Is it amazing? MVP. Go forward a bit. We want a big mouth for A, which is actually going to go into AE, like that. Go forward to S, and then I again, which is basically this one. It's not exactly the same, but it'll do for now. And then G and K. Okay, and then rest mouth. So just find where that finishes, which is about right, actually.
Bet it's amusing.
Oh, amusing, not amazing. Whoops. Right, so get rid of that one. Change that to a QU.
Bet it's amusing.
Right, a little bit too fast. Grab all of these and just scale them up a little bit.
Bet it's amusing. Bet it's...
Why does it seem off? I think it's too slow.
Bet it's amusing. Bet it's amusing.
Too fast, isn't it? From when he goes amusing. Bring all of these, make a little bit of space between these.
Bet it's amusing.
Something like that, yeah.
Bet it's amusing.
Okay. Huh. Right, so I don't know how long that took me, but that is my approach to the whole thing, yeah. So now, just talking about some sort of finishing touches. I've got the basic mouth shapes down, yeah, and it kind of looks...
Just watch how they splash. 5 boys on the ground. Good thing. Bet it's amusing.
Yeah, it looks pretty good, but not quite right. So then you would go through and add in, you need to add in your blinks and your other, maybe you want to make him smile or whatever. But let's just say, for example, when he says bet, it's amusing, I want that to look really plosive. So when we get to this part, I'm going to grab these two and bring them out as well. Okay, and just set that one as well. I'm not sure if it will work on its own. And then if we go back,
Bet it's...
didn't even appear, did it? So if I select these two, I can just delete this one. Let's see how that works.
Bet it's amusing.
Kind of works, a little bit more plosive.
Bet it's amusing.
Okay, so another way we can adjust things here, just to make it look a little bit better, is there's one thing we can do. We go into Animation tab, go to the Graph Editor. Okay, let's minimize this a bit. Okay, so this is going to look absolutely crazy because we've got, like 10 whatever bones going on, doing all sorts of crazy stuff. What we can do here is select all of these, every single thing, and if you press Alt and O, it smooths the keyframes quite a lot. So now if you watch this, he's barely going to speak.
Just watch how they splash. 5 boys on the ground.
Okay, so that's one option if it's looking too jagged. But as you can see, that went a bit crazy. So what you can do first is come down to Key, and we're going to add sample keyframes. Let me save this first. Sample keyframes. So that is kind of like subdividing the F curve here. So now if I hold Alt and press O, it doesn't smooth it quite so drastically.
Just watch how they splash. 5 boys on the ground. Good thing. Bet it's amusing.
Yeah, so that's one way of making it slightly smoother. Another thing we can do is just change the interpolation to linear.
Just watch how they splash. 5 boys on the ground. Good thing. Bet it's amusing.
Yeah, and of course, if you're going for that animating on the twos kind of look, you could just change the interpolation to constant, and it will look completely crazy.
Just watch how they splash. 5 boys on the ground. Good thing. Bet it's amusing.
Yeah, so that's some other things we can do there. But the one I would say is probably most useful for smoothing out is first coming down here to Key, add sample keyframes, and then while you're hovering over the graph editor here, hold Alt and press O. And you can do that many, many times. Let me just do it here. Alt O, Alt O, Alt O, Alt O. Yeah, and it gets smoother and smoother each time until the guy is barely moving his mouth.
Just watch how they splash. 5.
Yeah, so that looks pretty bad. So, right, let's just say you finished your animation and now you want to render it out, but you're worried because you're going to render in cycles, which means you have to render still images and then you have to sync up the audio all over again. Maybe you haven't necessarily started on frame 1, so it's on frame 1427 where the guy starts talking and you're like, oh, how am I going to do that? So, just in case you don't know, here's a little tip. Go to your render output, set it as whatever, I'm just going to set it on my desktop for now. Set it as FFmpeg video, whatever you want to do, QuickTime or whatever kind. Yeah, just set it as a video. And then you come up here to View. And you click Viewport Render Animation. And that's going to render as is what you see in the viewport, including this rig here. Yeah, so you can hide that for now. You go to Viewport Render Animation. You can also make sure that in the encoding you've got the audio codec set to MP3 because I think by default it's set to no audio. So now if I just render, let's bring that frame count down a little bit, down to about there. Render, viewport render animation, go. And it will render based on where your camera was as well. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Okay, and that's done. So I'm just going to save this and open up that video.
Just watch how they splash.
So that's my video.
5 boys on the ground.
At full speed.
Good thing.
Not great.
Bet it's amusing.
But so also doing it like this is a good way to check your animation flow because you can render it out. Sometimes when you're watching it in the Blender viewport, it's a bit slow, a bit laggy or whatever. So if you just render out the viewport animation, you can turn on subdivisions as well. It renders quite quickly. So then if I open up I'll just say, for example, the Blender video editor here, add in that movie. Yeah, just add that in here. It's got the sound.
Just watch how they splash.
Yeah, and so then once you've rendered out your image sequence of your proper render, you would just align it with the beginning of the video here, and the sound should match perfectly. So there you go. If you found that useful, please drop a like. Thank you for sitting through the whole thing. It was quite long, but hopefully you learned a lot. Feel free to ask any questions down in the comments, or if you would like any help with anything else, please let me know. Thanks very much.